Hello, hello, hello. My name is Uni Lopez, and you are watching or listening to the Pink Possibilities. Every week, I have a privilege to share the journey of an amazing person that all stories are 100% true. And tonight, we have a very special guest. Her name is Jamie Taylor. Jamie Taylor started her business as a 20-year-old college student in 2012. She became a director in 2013, and she was graduating as she was graduating and has been building her business full time ever since. She's a wife to Zach, her college sweetheart, and a mom to their 4-year-old son, Cash, and their beautiful baby girl, Ren. In her 10 years, Jamie has earned 7 cars, 5 of them being the prestigious pink Cadillac. She's currently driving her first national sales director Escalade, which is also a pink Cadillac. Jamie has made 7 appearances in the Circle of Achievements, the highest being in the 650,000 circle. She also has been a member of the Queen's Court of Sales and Sharing. She has been honored as a monthly Go Give nominee. Her highest commission to date in 1 month exceeds $32,000. Today, Jamie celebrates being a top 10 national in the Diamond Division. Without further delay, allow me to introduce you to the amazing and the beautiful Jamie Taylor.
Hello, my friends. How are you? Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'm excited to share a little bit of my story with you. So, Uni, thank you so much for having me on tonight. I am just so passionate about sharing what this company has done for me in my life. And I'd love to take you on a journey through my story of the last 10 and a half years. And what's so crazy to me, listening to you, Uni, share what she just shared, the things I've been able to accomplish in the last 10 years. I remember so vividly, so vividly 10 years ago when I had started as a 20-year-old college student. It was stories like this that really, one, inspired me to become a consultant. They opened my eyes to what was possible in Mary Kay. Of course, I knew what Mary Kay was, more on that in a second, but I did not realize the stories of real women and what this company was doing. And it opened my eyes to what was possible. So it really got me excited. And I remember 10 years ago listening to a recorded story of my leader and Uni's leader. Her name was Dawn. Listening to the story of how Mary Kay came into her life and what it had done since, and just dreaming. I remember telling my mom, like, Mom, you'll never believe how much money can be made. And I remember hearing about her highest paycheck, and these were things that just allowed me to start dreaming of what could be possible. Not even, wasn't even thinking what could be possible for me. I was thinking, if I could make a half of 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 amount of money that I'm hearing some women get to make, and the lifestyles they've gotten to live, if I could have a piece of that, I'd be excited. And so just to hear Uni recap what's happened in the last 10 years, it just takes me back because, my highest paycheck today is now in alignment with the one that I heard 10 years ago from my leader, Dawn. So it's just so crazy. And I say that to say, as I walk you through my story today, maybe you'll relate to me in some ways, maybe not. But I want you to know you're right where you need to be. I hope my story touches you in some way, just to remind you, because if for nobody else, it's a reminder for myself of what is possible. What is possible when you dream. So let me go ahead and take you back to 10 and a half years ago. I was 20 years old. Of course, I had heard of Mary Kay. That for me, I had tried the products. My grandmother had used them. My mom got Mary Kay from a lady at church. A lot of times I got Mary Kay in my stockings growing up. Like I remember having a blush and Moonstone eyeshadow, which, good news, we still make Moonstone all these years later. But I remember getting that as a gift, and I liked Mary Kay products. I remember going down to my mom's bathroom in high school, and I would put on a swipe of her Mary Kay mascara because it was just better than whatever like 10-month-old mascara drugstore that I had up in my bathroom. I'd always use my mom's before I left for school. So I knew what Mary Kay products were. Um, with that being said, I never considered them as a brand for me. Does that make sense? So I knew what they were. I respected them. I knew that they were good. It's just when I thought, at my stage of life as a 20-year-old, it just wasn't on my radar. Do you know what I'm saying? I was using drugstore products and things like that. And that was what I was considering for my own beauty products. Now, at the time, I did not wear much makeup. It was like a swipe of mascara and concealer on my pimples, okay? But my skin got really problematic in college. So I had a lot of acne in college. Of course, that was taking a hit on my confidence. I remember in college just waking up in the morning and looking at my face in the mirror and just taking a big deep breath and being like, okay, let's cover it up. Like, I just remember just being like, all right, here we go. Like, it was something I was always struggling with, Googling how to fix. And so at this point, I tried a lot of skincare brands. And again, I just wasn't even thinking about Mary Kay, I just wasn't thinking about it. So I was working a job at a little bakery at the time. This was the summer in between my second and third year of school. And I drove, the year was 2012. And back then the gas prices were pretty high. They were like over $4 a gallon. And I drove a 2001 Dodge Durango. It was a huge piece of metal. It was so heavy. It was a gas guzzler. It got like 12 miles to the gallon. This car, while it worked and it was great, it was my car. It had key marks up both sides of the car. My parents bought it for me that way in high school. The anti-lock brakes did not work and the air conditioning did not work. So it was like working, but it wasn't a dream car. And it was very expensive in the year 2012 to put gas in it. So I remember it costed me about $75 to fill up. I'm 20, working minimum wage at a bakery. Minimum wage back then was $7.25. So, I mean, most of my money was mainly just going to put gas in the car so I could like drive around. So a fun fact about me, and my friends love to make fun of me for it, is I am not a very frugal person. At the end of the day, this is the running joke. I can't get anything on sale. I pay full price for everything. It is my fatal flaw, okay? So this is just the running joke with my friends and family. I spend too much money on everything, right? So I drive past this little dumpy gas station, right? We're talking like it's old. You're not even sure. Are they still in business? They have the old-fashioned gas pumps, okay? So you can't pay at the pump. Like it's old-fashioned country gas station. And I pass it and the gas prices were so low. And the reason this is funny is typically I don't notice things like that because of my fatal flaw, right? But because gas was so expensive and it was costing me so much, I noticed. I was like, that gas was a good deal. And I wondered, is it legit? Like, are they still open? Is that sign up to date? So I kept driving to the nice, shiny, brand new gas station that was much more comfortable and big, and I could pay at the pump. And I pulled in, and their gas was significantly more expensive, right? Significantly. And this is the funny thing about the story, because it's so not me. Typically, I'd be like, well, I'm here. Let me just get gas here. But I was so broke, and gas was so much that I made the frugal choice to turn around. I'm like, I guess I'm going to go back up the road to that gas station. And oh my goodness, I'm so glad that I did, because I pulled in. Like I said, you couldn't pay at the pump. So I run into the little gas station. I give them my cash to put some money in to get some gas. And I walk out back to my car, and there is a pink Cadillac. And I knew what a pink Cadillac was. I just had never seen one in real life. And so keep in mind what I told you, my preconceived notions about Mary Kay. I respected the brand. I thought it was a good brand. I liked when my mom bought me a couple things here or there, but I connotated Mary Kay with women like my mother, my grandmother, ladies at church. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm 20 in college. So this is what I connotated Mary Kay with, was just for an older generation. And I see the woman who is driving the pink Cadillac is really young. She was my age that I am now. So she was like late 20s, early 30s. And she had on running clothes and her hair in a ponytail, and she had little toddlers in the back seat. I could hear. It was a beautiful day in June. The windows were rolled down, and her like little toddlers were making a bunch of noise and crying and being toddlers, right? And so I'm just taking the scene in and kind of watching as I'm filling up my car, like, this is just not what I was expecting. Like, oh, this is a young woman with young children driving a pink Cadillac. I knew that this meant she must be really good at Mary Kay. And so she kind of like catches me staring. And we just strike up a conversation. We're talking about all kinds of things. And I just mentioned to you she was in her running clothes, right? So she was not in her Mary Kay work mode. She was in her mom exercise gear, like living her life mode. And I said, if you're making small talk with a stranger who drives a pink car, I feel like that was a natural thing to bring up. So I was like, you must do Mary Kay. You must be great at it. And I remember the look on her face. She had a couple seconds where she was deliberating. Do I talk to this girl about Mary Kay, or because I'm in mom workout clothes mode right now. So she was deciding, and I'm so glad. She thought about it for a second. She's like, I do Mary Kay. So she came over to my car and she started talking to me about it, asking me about my experience with it. I told her what I told you. And she said, girl, I did not ask if your grandma uses Mary Kay. I want to know, have you tried it? And I was like, I mean, I have, but in a way I haven't. You know, not at the stage of life that I was in. I told you guys about my problem skin. And so she confidently asked me if we could get together sometime for me to try the products. And so she gave me her business card. She got my number, and that was it. I threw it in my purse on my passenger seat, and I went on to my little job at the bakery. But she was a professional. And so she checked back in with me a couple days later. She called me. And she's like, you remember me? And I was like, yeah. And she booked me for an appointment. So this is the funny thing. I told my mom about it, and she was like, oh, she drives the pink car? She met you at a gas station? She is good. She is good. You're going to join her team. I was like, absolutely no, I'm not. I'm going to try some products. Okay. I'm going to like try some skincare. She's going to like, let me play in some makeup. I'm not becoming a Mary Kay lady. My mom was like, okay, all right, whatever you say. And so the next week I had an appointment with her. Fun fact about me at the time, another thing that I did for money was I cleaned houses. I cleaned houses in high school and college. Not glamorous, but the reason I did it was I could make a lot more than minimum wage. For my little bakery job, I would have to go work like 6, 7, 8 hours and make a little bit of money. Or I could go clean somebody's home and be in and out of there in a couple of hours and make more money for less time. That appealed to me. It was the same reason I also would babysit, because I could make more money for watching kids while their moms were on a date night than for me to work a whole shift. And so I was attracted, even at that age. I love the idea of making more money for less time. But here's the thing. I did not actually enjoy babysitting, and I did not enjoy cleaning houses. They were just good opportunities for me to make cash as a college student. So I had just cleaned a house that day, a little condo for an elderly couple. And so I was in my cleaning clothes, and I went to this appointment, and oh my goodness, first of all, the skincare. I loved it. And I have to say, I've been using that same skincare line as our Miracle Set for 10 years now. And I love my skin, and I have ever since. It's so funny. These days, everywhere I go, people will compliment me, not on my makeup, but on my skin. They'll say, you have great skin. And I'm like, you will not believe it. It's a Mary Kay. And it's always cool to me to get compliments on my skin when at the beginning of my Mary Kay journey, my skin was my biggest source of insecurity, right? So it was so cool. So I was trying it, I was loving it, feeling it, seeing it on my skin, having a blast. And I decided to get that skincare set that day and invest in a new skincare set at 20 years old. I didn't have a lot of money because it was all going to gas, right? But like, I was like, I need this for me. I don't want to wake up every morning and like have to take a big sigh and say, okay, let's cover up this acne. You know, it was important to me to get that under control. And I knew it was directly tied to my confidence. And if I could get my acne under control, even though the Miracle Set is not an acne line, I could just tell, and it did. It did great things for my skin. I got the skincare set that day, and that's why. I was like, this is a good investment. And at the end, before I left, and I got my little skincare set, she's like, I'd love to tell you about how we make our money in Mary Kay. And I was like, because like I told my mom, I'm not becoming a Mary Kay lady. Okay, it's not happening. I'm getting a degree. I'm 20 years old. Okay. But there were so many things about Mary Kay I didn't know yet. I've already told you a little bit about who I was at this point in life, but I had yet to really understand what Mary Kay was. So my understanding was some ladies, they sell makeup and skincare products. They're good products. They make a little money, and that's cool. And even to me, that did sound kind of fun, but I was like, I mean, I don't need to add that to my plate right now until I learned really what it was. And I was able to learn what the Mary Kay opportunity was, one, through experiencing it, through trying the skincare myself as a customer and buying it, but then to really understand how we make our money. And so a couple of things that stood out to me that day that made me start to think and look at it in a different light. One was, what does it mean when somebody sells our products, our makeup and skincare, which I just experienced and liked and believed in, and I knew that other women in my life also liked and believed in the products as well. And I learned that day that Mary Kay consultants make a 50% profit. Did you know that? Did you know that? Because I just did not know that. And so good thing 50% also makes it really easy math. So let's say you make a $100 sale to your grandma. A 50% profit means you're going to pocket $50. And when I thought about that, I was like, that's actually a lot. Remember what I told you about babysitting and cleaning houses? I was like, wait a minute. I make $0 right now on my grandmother's beauty needs or my mom's, or I have 3 sisters. I have, cousins. And of course, I was on a college campus. And while I didn't have a ton of friends, I did have girlfriends. And I started to think about it like, wow, I'm making $0. And every woman that I know uses, needs to wash her face. Most of them own a mascara at the very least. That's significant. 50% is significant. The next thing that I learned that goes right along with that is Mary Kay consultants get a 50% discount on the products. Okay, keep in mind, I just told you I didn't have a lot of money. I had spent approximately like 115 at my appointment. And so immediately, if you were to take 50% off of that, for me at that stage to, when I need to refill these products to get them at half off, I would be saving myself over $50 just on the products that I liked alone. And so again, significant, right? So these things jumped out at me, but still I was like, oh, but I can't add something onto my plate. I'm working at this little bakery. I'm in college. I'm in a serious relationship with a guy who's now my husband. I was babysitting and cleaning houses to make some extra money. Like I was living a full life already. So after I heard how much money, the income potential that you can make as a consultant, the next thought was, I don't have time to add something to my plate. And hey, I'm so busy. What if I were to start something like this and I couldn't keep up? But then that's where I learned how beautiful there really truly are no quotas in Mary Kay, and that we don't have this, monthly thing that you have to do. I remember my feeling being like, I just can't sign up for more homework right now, right? I was in college, like I can't take on another commitment. What if I commit and I can't keep up? And that's where I learned that's not what it looks like. You design it around what it could look like for you. And so this got my wheels turning. But again, I still was like, I don't know that I would be a good fit with something like this. I mean, that's really cool. There's no quotas. It's really cool that you can make that much money on sales, but I don't know that I'm a good fit. And that's where I started to learn more about the company itself. So did you know, Mary Kay, our 60th anniversary is coming up. We've been in business for 60 years. Did you know that Mary Kay has been and is still a debt-free company? Did you know that Mary Kay is still family owned? Did you know that Mary Kay Ash was a real woman who was incredibly ahead of her time? Well, we don't have her anymore. Her grandson runs the company as our CEO. Like I was hearing all these things. And one of the things that stood out to me was the Mary Kay philosophy, which is faith first, family second, career third. And I didn't have a family yet, but something about hearing that was the foundation of this company that had been around for decades, that was still family owned, that was debt free. Even at the age of 20, hearing these things made me feel like, I don't know that I would ever do this, but if I did, I would want to be aligned with a company like that. That sounds like a company that I could align myself with, and I already know I like the products. But then even still, I was like, okay, well, if I ever did do this, I would do it with Mary Kay, because this is sounding like a great opportunity. I know I like the products. I now know that I love the company, and this is cool. I'm also learning that it's not just for older generations, because here I was 20 loving the products. The girl who introduced me, she was in her late 20s, like a young mom. I started to see, okay, so I'm seeing all this, but then could I do it though? Could I do it? Because something else about me, that while I was willing, right? I was cleaning houses and babysitting and getting great grades in college, right? Like I was a responsible 20-year-old, but I didn't have a lot of confidence. And this didn't necessarily come from having acne, okay? It was more than that. It was bigger than that. I never I had never really been in a leadership role in my life. And while my life up to that point had only been 20 years long, a lot of that had to do with just my fear of looking silly, of what people would think, of dropping the ball. Like literally in high school, I didn't want to join any team sports that would be like basketball or soccer because I was so afraid. What if I let the team down? I don't know if you could tell, I'm a pretty peppy person, and I actually grew up doing gymnastics. I would have been a perfect fit for cheerleading, perfect. But I would not go out for the cheerleading team because I was too afraid of not making the team and being embarrassed. I got great grades in school, but never wanted to be a part of any student councils or clubs or anything like that. I didn't want to lead because I didn't want to mess up. I didn't want to look stupid. When it thought about starting a business and putting myself out there, I just immediately thought, I'm not that kind of girl. I'm just not that kind of girl. I'm not the valedictorian captain of the cheerleader type. That's not who I am. And so while all of it was starting to tug on my heart, I thought, I'm not like the girls who could do this. I'm not bold enough to talk to you at the gas station. I'm just not, right? And so that is really where we started to talk more about, well, what would it actually look like to be a beauty consultant? And I started to understand, well, it's not about having a certain personality or saying the right things or being cool or whatever. It is about serving people. And so she explained to me, she said, the way I invited you out to try products today, is that something that you feel like you could feel comfortable doing with your friends and family? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I would be happy to let them try the products for free, knowing that there's no obligation, that they can just try things and that I could serve them in that way. And if there's something that they wanted to get, I could be their girl. Like I could do that, right? And we started to think about the appointment that I just had, how my confidence was already going up. I love the way I looked in the mirror. And if I could help other women feel confident, whether it's just a really great mascara or a lip color that, surprised them that they didn't know they'd look so good in, or changing their skin or whatever, I'm like, why couldn't I be a part of that? And so by taking myself off and thinking, what would everybody think? What would the kids I go to school with think, or my family or my relatives? Are they going to think this is silly? When I took the focus off of me for a second, I thought about how could I serve people that made sense? And of course, logically too. If I sell a $15 mascara to one of my sisters who's buying mascara somewhere, anyways, my 50% profit would be $7.50, which is more than the minimum wage I was making. So it just started to make sense. And so, very nervously, I will say, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my journey after that day. But the reason I spent so much time talking to you about the day I started my business, because I did start my business that day, was I've done a lot of really cool things. I know Uni told you about it. I've made a really great income for my family, and I can tell you more about that too. But the thing I'm the most proud of is not necessarily all the pink cars or the diamonds or the trips or the income, though that's been a blessing. The thing I'm the most proud of was getting started, because it was outside of my comfort zone for sure. And my confidence was low. But the most incredible thing that I've gotten out of this, the most incredible intangible thing, has been to watch that confidence grow. Not even over the course of 10 years, but in the course of the first 10 weeks, the first 10 months. I mean, I was unrecognizable. The leadership things that I learned communication skills. I learned money management. I learned people skills. I learned problem solving skills. I learned sales skills. I learned customer service skills, time management, emotional management at such a young age. incredible foundational things that would have been so valuable even if I had ultimately pursued another career. Incredible life skills, and life skills that I can pass on to my children that have changed the trajectory of my life, and in the process made great money. So after that day that I joined, that June day 10 years ago, I finished my last year of school doing Mary Kay. I dropped the bakery job, the cleaning jobs, and the babysitter jobs, and I focused on Mary Kay. It was really fun because by the time you're a senior, it's very common for most of your friends to have jobs at that point. And all of my friends, when we had group projects, we'd have to work around their schedule of like, oh, well, I have a shift this day or I have a shift that day. I worked less hours than my college peers, but on a weekly or monthly basis was making as much as them with their regular hourly jobs, but I was not tied to a clock and I worked less hours a week. I was having more fun and I was gaining all those life skills I was telling you about. Having a blast. My skin was clearing up. I learned how to do makeup. I was just blossoming. It was so exciting. So fast forward, that was my first year in college. I ended up at the very end of that last year. So about 10 months after I started my business, I earned my first Mary Kay car. So I was able to sell that good old Dodge Durango that was all keyed up, that didn't have air conditioning. I was able to sell that for cash, and that helped to go pay for my wedding. It wasn't a lot of cash, but it was a little bit of cash. And I've been driving a Mary Kay car ever since. So I was 21 at the time, and this was huge. I mean, I didn't think that I was going to have a life of driving brand new cars off the lot. I thought, I'd always get new to me cars, right? Like nice used cars for the rest of my life. And maybe one day when I'm like a really, really big girl and I've been in my career for years and years and years, maybe I could get a new car. How crazy to think, starting at the age of 21, I've driven nothing but new cars. And of course, most of those being Cadillacs, luxury cars. We've done the math. It's starting at the age of 21 through the rest of my career, the amount of money that I will save in car payments alone is hundreds of thousands, which is crazy over the course of my life. So these are all fun things. Zooming into these last 9 years, I started to build my business in all different seasons. So I told you about that first season, but right after college, I got married. So I did it as a newlywed. My husband, his first job out of college when we were newlyweds, did not make a lot of money. We still laugh about it. We're like, I can't believe that was like your first job when you were my husband. It was $8.50 an hour as a new husband. So it was like not a lot of money. But I had my Mary Kay. I had stepped into leadership at this point. So I was making great money for us. And then we had a few years before kids where we were really rocking and rolling, having so much fun. Just having options, buying our first home, getting to travel. Then I became a new mom. We lived in the state of Virginia. We moved to Tennessee. So I had to navigate being in a new town, but it was so cool. All the things that I had learned in my Mary Kay business. I learned how to get that community right away. I had built-in community with Mary Kay ladies I hadn't met yet. When I moved to town, I said, where are my Mary Kay sisters? And immediately I had built-in friends. I became a new mom, which is, if you've ever done that, it's a big transition in your life. So I did it as a young mother, and now I have my second baby. She's only 4 months old when we're recording this right now, and oh my gosh, now I'm a mom of two, and I just turned 31. And so it's been 10 years. And over the course of that, of building a business, as Uni told you, it started off where I was like, wow, if I could just sell products to my grandmother and my mom and a couple of my besties, and if I could make a couple $100 a month, that would be incredible. That could pay for my gas. That's where my mindset was, to slowly, the building blocks over time, as my confidence grew and as I continued to grow as a person, my business grew as well. And so it turned into now, okay, I can cover most of our bills too. I cover all of our bills, to creating wealth. A couple of years ago, we were sitting out on our back deck and we were looking at what we owed for student loans and my husband's truck. Of course, I don't have a car payment, and our credit cards. And we were looking at the number, all these things together, student loans, credit card, and Zach's truck was about $50,000 total for everything. And I said, what if we paid it off? And right there on our back deck, we got out our laptop and I paid off our student loans, Zach's truck, any credit cards, in one fell swoop. It was incredible. It was insane. And the reason I tell you that, it's not necessarily because we were super frugal or had this crazy plan in place. I was able to do that by scaling my income. That's how I was able to do that. I was able to build a business and continue to spike my income to where we just had left over. And so I want to ask you today, what would an extra $100 to $200 a month, if you scaled your income that much, what would that do for you? Would that be you being able to take your kids to the movies, to, go all out for their Easter baskets this year, or for Christmas, of course, or buying a new pair of shoes, or taking yourself to get a manicure and a pedicure at the same time, right? Like, what would that look like to you? Then if you were to be able to, let's dream a little bit bigger. If you were to scale your income to an extra of 500 or 1,000 or 1,500 a month, what would that do? What bills would that be able to cover? How much breathing room would that give you? Would that be able to turn you around in debt? Would that be able to go to a savings for something important to you, like a big trip, taking your family to Disney? What could that kind of income do for you? And then continuing on, what would it look like if you could generate a few thousand a month? Would that look like you being able to maybe walk away from a job that you don't love? Maybe would that look like you being able to stay home with your children because that's something that you really want to be able to do? Would that look like, completely eliminating debt? What would that look like for you? And what felt like a crazy, wildest in my imagination dream of like making the big girl dollars, 10, 15, 20, 25, $30,000 a month. I couldn't even wrap my head around it 10 years ago. But what that looked like for me was being able to sit on my back deck and say, I'll pay off the student loans right now. Just go get my checkbook. Let's do it. Right. And that's what that can look like. But those can only be possibilities if you start. You have to start. And so that's why I'm so proud of little baby 20-year-old Jamie for starting. It's just been such an incredible ride. It's every day when I think about my Mary Kay journey, I'm filled with gratitude. And the main source of that gratitude, of course, it's like, I'm so thankful for this company. I'm so thankful for my leaders. I'm so thankful for the sisterhood. I'm so thankful for the things that I've learned. But again, I think really where it's rooted is, and I'm just so thankful I started. I'm so thankful I said yes, because I could not have comprehended what was going to be in that starter kit for me, but I was curious enough to find out. And so, but I didn't have a lot of confidence. So let me be clear. This was outside my comfort zone, and how I rode the fence there for a couple of hours that day before I ultimately decided to hop on board. And what helped me get off that fence was asking myself, what do I think is the best thing that could happen? So I want to ask you, what is the best thing that can happen? Let your imagination run wild. For me, my confidence could not see what it is now. I couldn't see any of it. But for me at the time, that answer was, I can make some extra money. I could end up really liking it. This could be good for me. Like I do have a lot of insecurities. I would like to outgrow them. Even at the age of 20, I could identify, I could stand to grow. And I'm going to get a discount on my products. And if my friends and family want to support my business, I'm going to make a little extra money. That does not sound so bad. And then the other thing I had to ask myself is, what's the worst that can happen? For me, the worst that could happen was I give this a go. It's not my cup of tea. It's not for me. And and from what I'm understanding, I'm not signing my name in blood. I don't have to do this forever. I don't have to do it anymore if I don't want to. And the thought that came to my mind was, 10 years from now, which is funny, I use the word 10 because now I am 10 years down the road, but 10 years from now, what would I rather say? That 10 years down the road, my life changes, I look different, to think, what if I had the guts to just try Mary Kay? Like, I wonder what could have happened if I would have tried it. Or getting 10 years down the road and saying, I tried the Mary Kay thing, it wasn't for me. But at least I would have that knowledge. I would have that intel. Knowledge is power. And I would much rather get 10 years down the road and know I tried it and it wasn't for me, instead of 10 years down the road and wonder. Because what ended up happening for me is getting 10 years down the road and making my wildest dreams come true. Right now, my husband is a stay-at-home dad with us. He's watching the toddler and the little baby right now as we were spending this time together. And that's all possible because of being curious about what could maybe Mary Kay do for me and my family. It's not a guarantee, but it was the curiosity to find out what if. So I would tell you to consider those things for yourselves. If you like the products and you would enjoy a discount, if you like the products and you would enjoy a discount, then you probably know other people who would like the products if you shared them with them. Could you have the courage to share it? To share it. That's what I had to learn how to do, was have the courage to share with my friends and family. That's where I grew. And of course, they love the products too, and I made money in the process. But I would encourage you to ask yourself, what if? What's the best thing that can happen? What's the worst thing that can happen? And what would that mean for me? And what I looked at, my worst case scenario, was, in a lot of ways, it was still a good case. I tried it. I would learn something. I would have intel, and I can get out of it if I need to. And that gave me the confidence to say, logically, it makes sense just to try it, because something in my heart wanted to. And so that's the other thing I would tell you. If you've heard the Mary Kay story, or maybe you heard it today and something in your heart is just pulling you, sit with it for just a second and ask yourself these questions, because you just never know. So Uni, I'd love to pass it back off to you and continue our conversation.
Jamie Taylor, you are phenomenal. I have heard your story. I was at your debut, and I just walked away with so much knowledge. And as you said, knowledge truly is power. And you are a dynamic woman. And I'm just so honored that you took the time to be with us and share your relatable story. I have been where you were, and I'm sure that there are so many people that are going to be blessed beyond belief to hear your story. That's what this whole show is about. And you said it a couple of times, the possibilities, the possibilities, the possibilities are truly endless. So thank you so much for joining me today. And I want to thank each and every person for joining me today as well. I would love to ask you, if anyone is listening to this episode live or on a replay, if anything from Jamie's story has piqued your interest, please comment below and reach out to your personal independent beauty consultant. And if you don't have an independent beauty consultant, please comment, need IBC Uni, and I will personally reach out to you with any and all questions. Again, thank you, Jamie. I truly appreciate it. I'll be chatting with you with a moment. But so remember, everyone, not everyone is called to Mary Kay, but everyone is called. So whether you're looking for fun, freedom, or flexibility, always remember that the pink possibilities are endless. Have a wonderful night, everyone. God bless. Good night. Bye-bye.